like Billy Bob Thornton in the movie Sling Blade, but he preferred not to, especially in a crowd. Simon's best form of communication was with pictures, and the man had some talent. Whether God-given or developed out of necessity, Beth didn't know, but she could tell, even from the distance that separated them now, that what he'd drawn on this page was heavily detailed, and the ink took up most of the paper. Beth stepped closer, took it from his big-knuckled hand, and after another glance at the Ripper's soiled chainsaw blade to make sure there were no human remnants, she focused on the drawing, realizing immediately that something was badly wrong in Harrods Reach. Simon had sketched 2 fully clothed bodies in the woods, both on their backs. One a man, the other a woman. The old train tunnel loomed in the background. From the paper, she couldn't tell which side of the tunnel Simon had drawn, the north or south entrance. But the 2 bodies left nothing to question. They were dead. Side by side, and holding hands. But dead. And apparently brutally murdered. "You find these bodies, Simon?" she asked. He nodded, kept his gaze on his scuffed brown boots, the laces on the left one untied and wet. No telling what he'd tracked through to get here. "Did you touch them, Simon? The bodies?" Simon shook his head, chewed on a fingernail. She looked at the picture again. Amid the trees and deadfall, a man lay on his back, his severed head resting on his stomach like a volleyball, held there by his carefully positioned right hand. His left hand was extended out toward the woman beside him, clutching hers. And the woman... Beth looked up. "That a horseshoe, Simon?" Simon kept his gaze toward the floor, nodded, and then Grumble spoke for the first time since entering. "Yes, ma'am."
Chapter 2. Gideon. Now. Gideon Dupree didn't feel like a hero. So upon his return to Harrods Reach, after over 3 years blowing desert dust from his nostrils and now limping home like a wounded dog, he didn't want a hero's welcome. He'd told his mother as much when he'd phoned from overseas weeks ago, alerting her to his early discharge from the army. An honorable discharge with a Purple Heart. He'd accepted the award graciously, shook the hands that needed to be shaken, made his final salutes to the brass who'd put up with him day to day, and then stuffed his life since the day after he turned 18 into the same camouflaged deployment duffel they'd given him on day 1. The Purple Heart he'd stored in a plastic baggie, along with the bullet that nearly severed his right leg a month ago during the raid in Nangarhar. The same bullet he'd considered placing on the pretty airline attendant's counter after arriving at LaGuardia and telling her that was his real ticket home. But Gideon just thanked her and moved on, which was more his nature, stumbling through life, hoping nobody would recognize his place in it. Gideon had called his mother from the airport to let her know he'd landed and that he'd Uber home. He should have known something was up when Maxine Dupree insisted on calling the Uber herself. "So that I can pay for it," she'd told him. Before ending the call, he'd made the mistake of asking how Sully was doing. She'd said fine, but with enough hesitation to make him wonder if his now 8-year-old brother wasn't fine. Maxine then said softly to be careful, and then, "You've heard about the murders?" "No, Mom. What murders?" "At the tunnel? The walls?" "The walls? Mom, what about the walls?" "Just be careful, Gideon." He thought about the tunnel the entire ride from the airport. The train tunnel around which everything in this old railway town revolved, the place where his little brother had nearly...